Snafu already. Oh my gosh. Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mack. Joining me today is Mr. _ Nikki G of Cavs Nation. What's going on, my bro? How you doing?
What's going on? It's going great. Cavs have won 2 in a row. And not to mention, I have changed my handle. It is now officially Mr. Nikki G without the underscore. Somebody gave it to me. So, hey, I'll take it.
Okay. All right. We got updates already. Look at that, man. Look at that. I'll take that on the chin, though, because the Cavaliers have gone up 2-0. They have taken a 2-0 lead over the Orlando Magic as the series heads back to Orlando, back to the place that Disney World, Disneyland? I don't know. How am I spacing out on this? That's down there. But the moral of the story is that our Cleveland Cavaliers are 2-0 heading back to their home city. This could not have been a better start to the 2024 playoffs, my friend. I think I was sharing with you before the pod that I did not have this series going as smoothly as it has gone so far. And to see them possibly, they're halfway through the sweep. I'm not going to jinx it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to talk about second round opponents. But man, oh man, to come into game 3 with a 2-0 lead, that's got to pay dividends and give them a major confidence boost. But I've already talked enough. I'm already over here going off script here. So I have to ask you this: your initial thoughts from tonight's game.
It's like a brand new challenge, right? We've never had this thing where we win the first game and we have to come out and show that we can do it again. It's a totally new thing, right? Going into the series, I think there were 3 things I was looking for from the Cavs. One, could you show us, process? Can you show us that the struggles in this first round from last year, can you show us that you made development since then? 2, can you show us results? Can you show us that you can actually close games? Can you show us that you could score the ball, that you could play differently? Can you show us results? Can you show us wins? And the third thing is, can you show us reason that there's room to get better, that there's things that you could do that take forward to these next 2 games and into, I'm not going to jinx it either, but hopefully a series against the Boston Celtics next.
Oh man, I just feel good. I'm on top of the world right now, man. And the things that I was looking for heading into the series was, one, obviously the elephant in the room that has to, it cannot be ignored. The inability to rebound last season against the New York Knicks in that playoff series. That was a huge talking point. Is partially why the bigs, really the team as a whole, got lambasted in regards to the NBA media. They were calling them soft, with probably nobody else drawing more ire or criticism than that of Jarrett Allen, man. This dude, Jarrett Allen, was a force tonight on the glass, pulling down 20 rebounds. And if I'm not mistaken, during the broadcast, they mentioned that he became just the 3rd Cleveland Cavalier to grab 20 or more rebounds in a playoff game, joining the likes of Brad Daugherty, who was on the broadcast tonight, and Kevin Love, if I'm not mistaken. That is a big-time performance from him. Your thoughts on Jarrett Allen so far through 2 games?
Yeah. Jarrett Allen really came into this series and said, quite frankly, the lights aren't bright enough. He looks He looks like the Jarrett Allen we saw in the regular season. He looks like somebody who took last year to heart. He looks like somebody who, at any given opportunity, he's throwing his body into somebody wearing a black jersey. He's not backing down from Mo Wagner. He's not backing down from anybody in that painted area. He's dunking on everybody. I think I don't remember him getting blocked in these 2 games at the rim when he's gone for a poster, but I remember multiple Magic players on posters. This is who he is. And somebody says, how'd you get Mack Strus on the live stream? The question is, how did the Cavs get somebody that unlocks everyone so well here, where we've been playing double big for more minutes than I thought we would these first 2 games? And he's been basketball.
Cavaliers got.
Oh man, we're having technical difficulties over here.
My screen's doing some weird stuff right now.
Very, very odd. Technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Okay, continue. We're just like the broadcast the other day.
Yeah, this is the ESPN's opening broadcast of the playoffs when they got us. Yeah, Jarrett Allen, he's been exactly who we needed from him. We've actually gotten everything that we need from everybody. Garland, despite some turnovers, has been a great playmaker. Has taken his shots that he's needed to take. Mobley's been hitting threes. Mobley's hit a three in each game now. I don't know how many times he has to do this before we stop making the Derek Favors comparison at Tim Dontem's. And yeah, I think we talk about how this plays to our bigs, and he's the one who's really driving that.
Well, Mobley is actually, if I'm not mistaken, he has drilled 3 triples through 2 games now. He's doing the job out there. And the one thing that we all recognize this season from him is the growth from the perimeter, right? The volume suggests that, you can't necessarily trust him to knock down those shots just yet. But if you're the Cavaliers, you will live all day long if the defense is going to sag off of him. If he's willing to pull the trigger on those shots, he's been making defenses pay more often than not. And that's something that I did not have on my bingo card during the course of this series. And those 2 first quarter triples that he knocked down in game 1, you could tell that confidence is building. And I think for Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen in particular in that front court, confidence is a huge thing. Playing out there and just being confident in your abilities to not only shoot the ball, but to take those shots, period, and to be able to be physical with some of these teams out here. And a lot of it, as Brian Wiley just says down here, is just a mental, just such a mental thing for him. And for me, I know what this dude is capable of. I know what Jarrett Allen is capable of. And to see the bigs, as I kind of predicted heading into the series, to see the bigs kind of put on a show against an Orlando team that I believe came into this series as the 3rd overall rated defense, to see them just completely crush them inside, man, it's big time. And I cannot think of a pairing that deserves to be balling out like this more than Mobley and Allen. We know what Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are capable of, and they're going to have their moments throughout this series. And as Mitchell did in game 1 with his 30 points. But in my opinion, Jarrett Allen has been the driving force behind the Cavaliers, both their offense and their defense out there. I feel good, man. I feel good about our chances to take this series now. I did coming in before, but Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, really this entire team have really taken that to the next level. To see them go out there and do this shit against a very good defense just feels good, man.
100%, 100%. I think when Jarrett Allen is clicking like this, it's a real testament to our guard play. Like if he's actually like playing this aggressively and getting these kind of opportunities, it's a big sign that Mitchell and Garland are creating opportunities for him and they're executing. I mean, there's obviously there's stuff to work on. Like Brian, he makes the point about how the offense is still rough, got to be better moving forward. It won't work against Boston. There's room to improve here. You got at least 2 more games against the Magic to clean some of this up, to break 100 points, to show us that you can do that. But Allen thriving is just a show that we are creating good shots. The process is there. Mobley being as aggressive as he is early in games, taking those threes that we didn't think he would take, let alone make. It just goes to show you that there's trust in him, that when teams load up on Garland and Mitchell, we are comfortable going to Mobley. We're comfortable with him bringing up the ball now. We're comfortable with him creating out of his own space, his own set, inverted pick and rolls for him. We're comfortable letting him shoot now. Him and Allen have been crashing offensive glass really hard. I don't think we've lost the rebounding battle yet in 2 games, so we could put that talk to the side now. We're no longer this team that gets pushed around the glass anymore. We worked on all these things. We worked on the shooting, we worked on the rebounding, we worked on the toughness. Our bigs worked on their offense, our guards worked on their defense. The results over the last 6 weeks have been brutal overall, honestly, but the process has always been strong since the beginning of the season, ever since we made these changes. This is a different team. Even though it's a lot of it's the same players, it is a completely different team.
I mean, you can just see it in the mentality. Just the physical nature of how they've come out. And honestly, in my opinion, I think they've looked to prove a point out here. Like, look, we are not soft. You guys are not going to move us around. You're not going to send a message to the rest of the league that the Cavaliers can be pushed around by just anybody. And that starts with the front court. But yeah, I think the conversation that you reference in regards to results, right, versus the process and whatnot, everything is starting to finally pay off.
Yeah.
Some of the offseason acquisitions may not be performing from a percentage standpoint and from a shooting standpoint as well as you'd like them to. Nudge, nudge, George Niang, who, if I'm not mistaken, has now gone, let's see here, 0 of 8 from 3-point distance through these first 2 games.
But wait till he starts hitting it back. Wait till they start going down back. Just wait.
Hey, I've been defending my boy, all game long, really, these past 2 games. I felt like the stats won't show it, but Niang has been better than expected from a defensive standpoint, matched up many times against Paolo. I know Paolo went 5 of 6 against Niang the other day, and today just really from an offensive standpoint, he did not have it going on. Again, he's just 0 of 8 since these 2 games started. And I have to ask you this because I've seen a lot of people suggest this to me on social media. Is it time to look at Marcus Morris in that spot if Niang can't continue to knock down those shots? Is there relevance to that? Would you give some of those minutes to him?
There's a possibility. I'm not like, I definitely think that's something they're gonna have to look at as we go forward here for this series. We have had some offensive issues, but we have also had back-to-back double-digit wins or around there here in the second game. Niang, even when he's missing, still adds a lot to this team. From a vocal leadership perspective, from a space creating perspective, even when he's missing, he's still demanding gravity. And you mentioned it with the whole Paolo matchup. There's so many benefits to that. Like having a guy who's strong enough to at least hang with him or make it a little bit hard on Paolo. So you get, you have free safety Mobley or free safety Allen. That takes our defense to another level. Marcus can do some of these things. I don't think he's going to be as consistent at shooting or switching on to bigs as Niang is. I know people like to harp on Niang's foot speed, but to be honest, as a defender, he's put up pretty good efforts against guys like Julius Randle and now Paolo Banchero. So I think they want to. You don't want to abandon somebody who played all 82 games for you, who going into the playoffs was extremely hot, like shooting over 45% for the last 20 some games. You just your overall spacing is good, so the shots will fall. You can shoot better. He can shoot better. I think you continue to trust him and see how the matchups dictate. If you hit a big scoring wall come in Orlando, Marcus Morris is like a perfect audible that you can pull out here, a guy who can actually go get his own bucket, a guy who can change the energy a little bit. But no, I wouldn't change course right now. I think you got a good flow. I know, Kaz, you talk about the confidence that JB should have in his bench, and should he be going deeper? Should he be going to TT and Merrill and Marcus? And to be honest with you, like, it's tough in the playoffs because usually an 8-man rotation is what it is. 9 is a little bit dicey. And, when you go deeper and deeper, it only gets tighter and tighter. You do need to have the ability to switch it up, the ability to go deeper, which we have. But I think 2 games in, when you've played your best 2 games without LeBron James as an organization in the playoffs, I think you have to continue to ride this momentum.
I don't think you really have a choice. It's working. Right?
It's working. It is.
It's working, and we can complain and nitpick about specific things that aren't working, but I mean, the formula, clearly it is paying off. JB Bickerstaff, he is getting the most out of these guys. Niang, from a percentages standpoint, this series is not going to we're not going to look back fondly on the shooting numbers from this series if it continues to go this way.
But you know what? Out the way. Get him out. Get him out of the way for Boston. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would love nothing more than for Niang to start hitting shots in the remaining games in this series. But if he doesn't and we still win, who gives a fuck? I mean, I don't. That's how I feel about it. But I understand wanting to maybe give some of those minutes because Niang is he is among the Cavs leaders in minutes off the bench. That was not necessarily the case tonight, if I'm not mistaken, but you can understand why JB, who has trusted him all year, would continue to roll with him. Brian Willie says, keep this 8-man rotation. I like to give Sam 3 minutes a quarter and see if he can bang a couple threes. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think Sam could be playing more. I do think like having these little moments at the end of like the second and the third quarters, or whenever you have these like stops or these lulls in the offense, it'd be good. It'd be good to get somebody like a Marcus Morris, or actually just a Sam Merrill. I think Marcus you really go to if you really lose confidence in Niang or an injury or anything like that. But I do think Sam needs to see the floor at least once a game. But I will say this, despite running into offensive lulls, which the Cavs have done now in both games, they have been able to play through them. They haven't wilted. They haven't like completely melted down. They haven't like things that we thought last year would happen or things that we saw recently in the last few weeks that have been happening. They haven't happened in these two games. So I agree. We have Marcus Morris, we have Sam Merrill, we have these options off the bench we can go to, and we've proven in the regular season we will go to them. But I like this test of our mental toughness. I like this thing that we're going to play through these situations because guess what? When you face a harder opponent, Sam Merrill may not be the answer. The guys go down to like a 14, 15-year vet like Marcus Morris may not be the answer against Boston. What might be the best answer is your best players have to play, outplay their best players. And so far in two games, our best players have proven they'll do that.
I think a large portion of that, though, is this matchup just was picture perfect for what these two teams do, right? We
Yeah.
know that Orlando came in with a very, very highly rated paint offense. If I'm not mistaken, they're scoring 51.8 points per game within the paint, which is eighth, if I'm not mistaken. And Cleveland, they're very good at defending the paint, but the one thing that has consistently hurt this Magic team all season long is just flat out their inability to shoot the three ball. If you really break down their 3-point stats today, they went 1 of 11 in the first quarter from 3-point distance. And then they went 4 of 8 in the second, and then 3 of 9 in the third, and then finally 1 of 7 in the fourth quarter. And so we know with as much as the Cavs are packing the painted area, it's forcing them out onto the perimeter because the one thing that I think a lot of people are forgetting is that their best drivers are in the front court in Paolo and Franz. And so if you're closing the driving lanes off of those two guys and forcing them to constantly kick the ball out, that's just a recipe for disaster for a team that ranks dead last in 3-point makes. And they're, among, I think, 29th in the amount of attempts that they take and the percentage of points that they score off of 3 points, off of 3-pointers is dead last as well. So they do not have a good chance to play from behind.
Yeah, the Cavs are basically doing to the Magic what the Knicks did to us last year. We're going to take advantage of the lack of spacing, and we're going to, outplay them with our guard play. That's basically what happened last year with us versus Brunson, and we're doing that to them now with Garland and Mitchell. So going into the series, I think that was always going to be the biggest thing. Their point guard right now is Paolo Banchero, so we have to take advantage of that. I'd like to see us to take more and more advantage of their lack of spacing. I think there's some opportunities we could be converting more. Obviously, some of these lulls, some of these turnovers are self-inflicted, but these are things you can fix. I think it's like we're not really a high turnover team. I know people have been on Darius Garland for turnovers, and I know we've had like things that really stick out in your mind when you think about it, but to be honest, the way we play, the way we this is one of the advantages of having a heavy pick and roll offense is that you typically are doing less motion, less split actions, less cross court passing. You typically have less turnovers. So I just think a lot of these mistakes that we've seen are fixable. So it's not just like, it's more room for growth than area of concern for me.
Yeah, I mean, they ranked 17th in the NBA at turnovers at 13.6 per game. It might look like they're turning the ball over a ton because they'll have a game where they have an extremely high amount, and then they will balance that out with a low turnover performance. And we know that, inconsistency in the Cavaliers have kind of gone hand in hand this year in many regards. Turnovers are no different in that manner. But at the end of the day, if they can cut down on the miscues, then these blowouts can be even worse just because Orlando, they are among the league's best at capitalizing off of teams' miscues. They rank second in the league in points off turnovers, and they can make you pay. It's a huge reason why they're able to circumvent not being able to shoot the ball all that well from the perimeter because they can make you pay for your own mistakes.
Yeah, they scrap. Yeah, 100%. Speaking of miscues, Mac, what do you think overall? Probably one of our biggest miscues from last playoff run were the rebounding. Like that's something that like a lot of like miscues, both in strategy and effort and everything. What do you think of how the Cavs have handled rebounding so far in these playoffs?
Unbelievable. I heard numerous times during the broadcast that JB was making it a point of emphasis in each huddle, rebound, rebound, rebound. And I think it's really twofold here. If your opponent cannot shoot the ball all that well from 3-point distance, you're going to pack the paint. You're going to force them to drive and kick. You're going to force them to be out on that perimeter. And by doing that, you're putting 3 or 4 bodies in the paint because you're collapsing constantly, which automatically puts you in a very good position to pull down loose rebounds, especially of the defensive variety. The one area that I have been really impressed is on the offensive glass. Guys have been hustling. Guys have been crashing the glass. And it's not just the bigs, because one of the things that people forget in last season's series is that no, Evan Mobley actually led the Cavs. I think Evan Mobley may have led the series in the average number of rebounds. The problem is that they, outside of Jarrett Allen basically being bitched by Mitchell Robinson at times, was that the guards and the 3 were not crashing the glass. And that's why you often saw players like Josh Hart, pull down huge, gaudy rebounding totals. And I think it's been a complete opposite this postseason through these 2 games. Everybody is crashing the glass. It's not just Evan Mobley and namely Jarrett Allen, who, has pulled down, if I'm not mistaken, 38 rebounds in 2 games. The man is averaging 19 rebounds per game through 2. And he very well looks like the Cavaliers' best player out there at certain points. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell lays claim to that, but Jarrett Allen has probably been the most important factor in this series so far. But to answer your question in short, I have been just flat out impressed, man. I don't know how else to really describe it, because they obviously, your opponent not being able to shoot well and you packing the paint, that really makes things a lot easier for you in regards to things. But I feel like they have made a concerted effort to go out there and attack that glass.
100%. And I'll tell you what, the Cavs have their own Josh Hart. They have their own guy who grabs rebounds for no reason. His name is Mack Strus. 9 rebounds in both game 1 and game 2. And what I love about it, it's not just the scrappy rebounds. It's not just like the hustle rebounds. It's not just the 50-50 balls. It's the rebounds that he's grabbing where he's getting switched onto bigs, where he's in a situation that last year when Garland and Okoro and Donovan, they kept getting switched on to Mitchell Robinson and Hardenstein, and they couldn't handle the box out or secure that rebound. The sirens, they're cheering for the Cavs. It's now Max Strus who is getting that assignment to box out the big when Allen and Mobley get switched out and have to guard the shots on the perimeter. It is Max Strus who is finishing that position and securing that final box out against bigs. He's the one who's doing that. That's where most of his rebounds are coming from. And it's working because it allows us to keep Mobley and Allen to pressure shots, which makes those shots even harder, which is why Orlando's struggling even more than they already would be because their offense sucks. So, Max Strus making sure he's finishing these possessions with these amazing box outs. I don't think anybody thought he'd get 18 rebounds in the first 2 games. That's our Josh Hart. That's our counter.
I mean, yeah, as Tom K says down here, Strus feels like Hart, like having a nose for rebounds. Absolutely. And to your point, dude, like Max, he has been billed oftentimes as just a perimeter shooter. Oh, did we lose you?
No, you're good. You're good. I'm just trying to fix it because it is being weird,
Okay, yeah, it's all good. I'm just gonna keep talking, I guess.
Go.
Like, Max Strus was often billed prior to the season began as just a movement shooter, right? And throughout the course of this season, we have come to see that he is much more than that. We saw that in his last regular season game where he got his first career triple-double. The man looked like a pseudo point guard out there. He literally could function as your emergency point guard if you don't have Donovan Mitchell, Karis LeVert, or Darius Garland available. We know that he is an excellent rebounder, as showcased all season long and through these 2 games in this series so far. We know that he can knock down shots, obviously, from numerous ways, whether it's catch and shoot, whether it's off the dribble or out in transition. The dude is just really multifaceted, and I feel like he's been a bargain for the Cavs. The statistics won't, like, the shooting percentages won't yield that this year, but if you really pay attention to the gravity that he draws and the defensive attention that he is bringing to that starting lineup, which the Cavs just did not have out of the 3 last year for much of the season. It's been head and shoulders different than last season. So I've been very impressed with Max Strus, and especially his ability to rebound, because it's been a key factor in this series.
Yeah, and all season actually, I think Max Strus has been one of the more underrated defenders in the NBA. It's not just the rebounding he's been doing recently to end defensive possessions. He
Mhm.
is in our starting lineup our best point of attack defender. He's actually very solid. He ranks very highly in terms of points allowed per ISO possession. Like last year, we didn't really have a good person to throw at Jalen Brunson. I think 100% it's Max Strus's assignment if we ever come to that matchup again.
I mean, if we did, just hypothetically, it would have to be,
Hypothetically.
yeah, hypothetically speaking, because we don't want to just overlook our opponents here. We said we're not going to jinx anything, because that would necessitate us beating whoever comes out of the Boston series.
We're not
And
doing that.
I don't want to do all that right now. But I will say this: it would be nice to have Max Strus out there in that starting lineup, as opposed to the spot that we were in last year, having to go between constantly Isaac Okoro. No disrespect to Isaac. We'll talk about him in just a second. Or Caris LeVert, who was much better suited to come off the bench. Brian Willie, sorry if I keep mispronouncing your name, man. I feel like I am. Just to his point down here, Caris LeVert being left off the 6-man ballot is a travesty. How do you feel about that?
I think he was just disqualified because he started a lot of games because of all of our injuries. So I think it was just a technicality. But to be honest with you, we're not going to win an award. We're not going to win any awards until we do something in the. It's Cleveland. Like we're just going to get disrespected. It's just how it is. We're not the only ones. Like look at New York. Jalen Brunson probably deserves a lot more credit than what he's been getting this year. Like, and he's gotten no mentions for any awards or anything, right? So that the Boston Celtics are like hands down the was the best team in the regular season. They have nobody as a award finalist for the NBA's awards. It's just like there's a lot that goes into these things. Caris has played like a 6-man of the year. I can't even like tell you the number of things he does day to day, whether he's making shots or missing shots, his effort on both ends. The fact that we lost Craig Porter Jr. for a couple weeks here. There is no other backup point guard. Like it is Caris LeVert. Like he is that playmaker. He is that last guy we trust to be able to create for himself and others. Like just the number of things, this guy affects every single part of the game.
I mean, he's very, very, just like we talk about with Max Strus, he's very multifaceted. I think his game is much better suited to come off the bench. And that's why you haven't seen him start a tremendous amount of games this year. JB has been reluctant to do so, even when he's been, facing a ton of injuries out here, especially at the guard positions. But I didn't honestly feel like he had a real shot to win it. There have been a number of names that have been very, very worthy of that award. And that one is constantly a tough one to choose between who deserves the most. I mean, I saw the ballot the other day, and I wasn't surprised that Caris wasn't named a finalist. So, I mean, it is what it is. But as long as Caris shows up like he did today, I don't really care, man. I don't really care. One of the players that I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit, though, as we've already mentioned him, is Isaac Okoro, who he can be an X factor. He was definitely in my breakdown. He was one of my X factors that I listed, not only for his defensive abilities, but the improved spacing that he has started to bring to the table. And I felt like his minutes in the series were going to be heavily dependent upon how frequently he could space the floor and how effectively he could space the floor. And tonight we saw this man drill a step back triple. It was phenomenal, man. Just purely based upon his performance in these first 2 games, what grade would you give Isaac Okoro?
For taking I think Mo Wagner, he basically concussed a Cavaliers fan on the sideline today. In game 1, it was Mo Wagner who stepped on the back of Okoro's neck and made him bite his own mouth. And he didn't really come back into form that first game. So Okoro's been battling. He's been battling. He battled through that. He battled through today. He hurt all summer and he struggled in the last series. And then he hurt for a year straight about how he can't make that shot. And he comes in today and makes 2 or 3 of them. We talked about Sam Merrill and how he needs more minutes. To be honest, his minutes only come if Okoro becomes redundant. Like his minutes will only come if Okoro is not hitting those shots or is like hurting the spacing. But to be honest, going into the series, I thought it wasn't going to be a great matchup for Okoro. There's not really a huge perimeter threat on that team. Okoro is not our best spacing option. In my head, I thought you'd kind of split a lot of these minutes with him and Sam. But if Okoro could shoot like this, the things that he does really well become super valuable then. His ability to finish in transition, his ability to, switch a lot, to play a lot of different defenders and just be a Swiss Army knife on that end of the floor and just hustle and also contributed to rebounding. So yeah, Okoro, like, it sucks to say that it really comes down to him making or missing shots. I think even if he wasn't shooting this well or this confidently, he still obviously has a role and he still has value to especially to JB. JB loves Okoro. But the fact that Sam Merrill plays less is a sign that Okoro is doing what he's supposed to be doing.
I mean, just look at this. The running out in the transition. We know how phenomenal the guy has been his entire career, and honestly, in doing that. We know
Yeah.
how much of a beast he can be on the defensive end. Many of us felt that he is deserving for some all defensive team nominations. He probably won't get it, but I mean, he is definitely deserving of that. But to be able to go out there and to knock down shots in a pressurized situation that is the NBA playoffs,
Yeah.
that can pay dividends, especially in
Yeah.
a contract year for Okoro. And so I'm just, I felt before the season, man, you guys should probably get this man under a contract because if he plays the entire season, if he's healthy and if he shows improvement, he's going to command a pretty penny. It's not going to be a max salary, obviously, type situation, but it's definitely going to be he's going to have to be paid more now than he probably would have last offseason, in my opinion.
Do you think he'll be paid more or less than Max Strus?
I think he'll get a deal on par with Max Strus, maybe
Mm.
slightly more, just because of, when you're signing a contract the year after a contract was signed, generally those numbers can fluctuate and they're usually on the higher side of things. And so I tend to believe that Okoro is probably going to get a deal probably in the area of Strus, but it probably receive a little bit more. I think you probably could have gotten him on a cheaper deal though prior to the start of the season. But restricted free agency is a good thing for the Cavs.
Right, right, right.
They can make some decisions, and I doubt anybody's going to throw a deal out there and an offer sheet that the Cavs will refuse to match. I don't think we're going to find ourselves in that situation, but I have to acknowledge it's at least a possibility.
Yeah, and I also think in terms of how you handle it, the off season is like a totally different world. Like we're still in this world right now where we're focused on this playoff push and what this core and this team can do. We still like there's Okoro is just a part of a long list of decisions that need to be made once we really figure out what this group can do. I think I'm proud of the Cavs for not hamstringing themselves. Like because you don't know what's going to happen exactly here. You still have to pay Mobley. You still have to kind of see what the future of Mitchell looks like. You might be looking for a new coach depending on how these next few weeks go. You have no idea. So like there's just there's a lot of moving pieces here, and it all kind of just depends on Mitchell. And we have to see how Okoro plays over time in these series. Against Orlando, he's been great. I hope he continues to do this. I don't expect what he's done today every single time. If he does even like a fraction of this consistently, he's going to be great for us. And you're right. The restricted free agency gives us the benefit of doing this option. So yeah, I think it was played smart. I know the price has gone up a little bit, but nobody loves Okoro more than us. So I think we're doing this as responsibly as we can.
Absolutely. Now, I have to kind of play devil's advocate here. I have to ask you
Go for
this
it.
because prior to tonight's game, especially after watching the dominant paint performance in game one by the Cavaliers, where they basically beat Orlando at their own game, outscoring them by a margin of 12 points in the paint, I believe 36-48 was the final number for that in that regard. But I have to ask this. After seeing them basically struggle to shoot now in back-to-back games, and Cavaliers haven't really shot much better themselves, but after seeing Orlando struggle to shoot in back-to-back games and this game plan being executed to perfection by the Cavaliers, how does Orlando adjust? What adjustments can be made to make up for the lack of shooting? I mean, I don't know if there's anything they can do,
This is
man.
kind of what's sad, right? Because like if you think
Yeah.
about us from last year, as as long as the reason why last year I was a little bit less bothered by the rebounding stuff and all like the physicality stuff that everybody was really fixated on, and the fact that you lose in 5 games that's closer to a non-competitive series than a competitive one, right? So we tend to overreact, and that's fair. But I do think like what people forget sometimes is that the Knicks couldn't score either, really. And
Mhm.
I think like there were some competitive games last year. Like game 1 was very winnable. Game 4 was pretty winnable. You wonder how game 5 would have been if you didn't go down 3-1. Like I think the Cavs like last year, the gap in terms of if we were ready was it was too insurmountable. But in terms of an ability from talent standpoint, we weren't out. We were not out talented last year. Like there was not like an offensive power that we could not overcome. We just couldn't overcome ourselves. I mean, our flaws caught up to us. The Magic, I'm not sure that's the case here. I think they are just genuinely out talented. I think this is just a different level that they're up against. The Magic are one of the least experienced teams in the playoffs right now. The Cavs are more in the middle of the pack. The Magic have, quite frankly, like no great ball handling, playmaking guards. The Cavs have 2 to 3 of them. Like we have way more. We have abundance in shooters who are over 35% on the season. They have like 2. Like so it's like it's just it's going to be harder for them to adjust and make up for the scoring. The best they can do is lean into playoff basketball. They can lean into like the physicality. They can lean into making things rough on them. They can foul and try to get away with more things. Adjustments wise, it's going to be tough, especially if we don't even know if Suggs is going to be able to play through the sprain for the rest of the series. So, at the end of the day, Mac, I know it sounds simple and it may not sound real, but their best chance into the series is that they have to start taking and making more threes. I think both games now they've hit less than double-digit threes. It's not possible in today's NBA against a team that's a high-powered offense like the Cavs.
I mean, they have taken if my math is correct, and
Yeah.
forgive me, I am not a mathematician at all, but I think they have taken a grand total of 72 triples over these
Wow.
last 2 games. I think that's the number that they've taken, and I think they have gone 17 of 72. I think that's the final result in regards to that number.
Wow.
They're shooting the ball a shit ton, man. They averaged only 31.3 attempts per game during the regular season, which was I think dead last or second to last, and they have exceeded that. They have exceeded that leaps and bounds already during the 2 games in this series, and I just don't see like I know that Tom K says down here Orlando will play better at home. Yeah, I mean teams typically do, but I just don't know if they'll shoot better because they didn't shoot well this season. I think only 35.2% or 35.3% from 3-point distance this regular season. So I just don't know if they're capable of doing that. And if you can get a lead on this team by virtue of that poor shooting, they just don't have the requisite skill to catch up. They just can't do it. And Cleveland, they've just executed this game plan flawlessly. They're rebounding the ball. They're cutting off the driving lanes. They're making Orlando shoot from the perimeter more than they are comfortable with. They're playing excellent defense on an individual level. I don't know what they can actually adjust to make things work better outside of just simply knock down shots.
No,
So
yeah,
it's
they
a
have to
crazy
make
world.
them. They will shoot better. They will shoot better. That's almost a guarantee at this point, but I don't think it's going to
Mhm.
be enough. I will say at the end of today's game, for example, when they were starting to chip a little bit and the Cavs 22-point lead became like a 9-point lead, and you were just looking at it and you were thinking to yourself, okay, it's just a matter of time. The Cavs just have to avoid making enough mistakes to close this one out. But to be honest, the best way to hold on to a lead is to score. Like if especially when the time's in your favor, like if you continue to create a flow, it demoralizes a team trying to get back into a game. So I think that's one thing the Cavs need to work on. I think at the end of the game, we saw that today. After we won this game, Donovan Mitchell was talking to JB Bickerstaff off the sideline, and you could tell there was a disagreement. They were talking about like how they should have executed down the stretch. There was like some sort of thing where or Donovan was talking to JB about how he wants that look, how he wants to go about that differently. Then he commented on in the post game conference talking about how there's things we need to clean up. So the Cavs are able to do that. The Cavs are able to look at their late game scoring situation and say, we can turn it up another notch. We can improve more here. We can get better looks. The Magic, truly, their best course of action is just to start making shots. They don't have quite the shooters to do it. It's the playoffs. They're going to get the home crowd energy. They're probably going to have a game or two where they really do. But at the end of the day, the only way the Cavs lose a series is if they beat themselves.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, when you have, Paulo and Franz and company taking those long twos and, tough threes, things have gone well because those are the best two drivers that they have. If you're making things difficult for them at the rim, they just don't have the talent to overcome what's going on. The one thing that I wanted to ask you, though, before we get ready to head out of here is Darius Garland. Through 2 games in this series, Darius Garland is averaging 14.5 points, 6 assists. He is shooting the ball quite well at 50% from the floor, including 46.2% from three-point distance, but he's only taken 11 shots. Have you been satisfied with Darius Garland's level of play? I mean, before you answer, let me just get this out of the way. I have, for the most part. I feel like he is actually making the correct plays out there. I feel like he's getting guys in the correct positions. I just feel like he's not forcing the issue in regards to his shots. But how have you felt about Darius Garland?
I think he's been going through a season from hell. Um, I think a lot of people expect something from him because of his contract. But I think the reality is like you have to just go through things and you have to just survive it and learn from it and learn from it. And I think Darius really, really needs this moment. And I think he's taking advantage of it. I think his aggressiveness, his intensity, he's not in his head. Even if he's making mistakes, even if he turns the ball over, he comes back and makes the right next play. Usually I think he recognizes, despite the criticism and despite the struggles and his personal battles that he's been going through this year, the hardest injury of his career, the most difficult stretch in terms of learning how to play and make everything fit. He's had family, he went through family loss, a lot of stuff he's dealt with. But he knows this team needs him. You go watch the Knicks series. Go watch how much Jalen Brunson right now is struggling against Philly. They're up 2-0 and they won big games, but it's not because of Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson without Julius Randle is having a hell of a time right now. And if we didn't have Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell's life would be a lot harder. Darius has been that release valve, that guy who's been keeping the non-Mitchell minutes somewhat productive, somebody who hasn't hurt the Mitchell minutes either, somebody who's been playing efficient basketball and still continues to show growth and even room for more growth. So at the end of the day, we need Darius Garland. The questions about his fit long-term, I have pretty good confidence in Darius in terms of fitting with Mitchell. I made a post about it today on Twitter about how his ability to attack closeouts and find Mitchell whenever his drives are ending. I think there's a natural synergy between those two. I think a lot of people thought it was redundant to have 2-6-1 guards, but honestly, I think Garland, his skill set and his IQ is actually, he can make it work because he's very good at playing off the ball. So I think so far he's done that. I think so far he's played with confidence, which is what he's been lacking basically most of the season. And we need him, especially in this series, but every series down the road, you need a guy who can score, who can shoot, who can create. Darius is our second best at all of those things. So we got to make sure he's a part of this, and we need to go in on that with him.
I think a large part of what he is doing out there is just not trying to step on anybody's toes, to be honest. He sees that Jarrett Allen is dominating out there. As we all know, this is a series that Jarrett Allen had the potential to eat in. He sees that Evan Mobley has it going on in certain regards. And clearly Donovan Mitchell is the head of the snake here. So I just feel like he's not forcing the issue, which I've been okay with. Get your guys involved. If you see that Jarrett Allen is having a dominant performance in the paint and they just have no answer for him, keep feeding him the rock and don't hijack the offense, because a lot of people, myself included at times, have noted how DG can just over dribble at times and just kill possessions that he doesn't necessarily need to. And it's been refreshing to see him not do that as often lately and looked a little bit more, attentive in regards to some of the careless turnovers that we've seen from him. But I've been I'm not ecstatic with his level of play, but I've been fairly satisfied. And I do believe that if they get past this series, because again, I'm not going to jinx it. If they're going to be heading into a very rough second round matchup, and they will absolutely need Darius Garland to elevate his level of play and probably play the best basketball of his career.
Definitely,
but I've been fairly satisfied with him.
That's good. I mean, he's been playing better. I think even he's struggled last couple of months. We could all objectively say he's been performing above what he's been delivering beforehand. So like that's already kind of that's really good progress. Brian Wiley in the chat, he makes a good point. When the offense struggles, you'd like to see Darius shoot more threes, force the issue. I think the one thing that we noticed about Darius is what does his pace in terms of decision making look like? Is he snappy? Or is he sluggish? Is he doing too much winding plays, or is he doing stuff that he's reacting to and just like going off of his instincts? I think sometimes, especially when we get to those moments like we did where it felt like toward the end of today's game and even toward the end of the third quarter in the last game, we just got a little bit stagnant, a little bit rough. And maybe sometimes these plays and sets that you run that don't always lead to the same passing lanes. Maybe Orlando's turning it up defensively. Maybe they're getting a couple turnovers. Like I think that's when Darius, especially when Mitchell's tired or just like Suggs is on him or he's getting focused or something, Darius needs to just take a screen, get whatever semi-favorable matchup he can get, and just go at that guy. Like try to go get a bucket, create, add a little bit of juice to it whenever you can, because you've got it compared to most people on this team. So I would like to see Darius do that a little bit more because we're going to need that. We're going to need a tough shot bucket getter in these later rounds. Start showing you could do it now. Start building the confidence toward that. I think he is starting to get confidence in other areas. I would like him to take that next step and just kind of like, he has the ability. So now it's a matter of showing everybody else that you can do it.
Absolutely. Tom K says Dean Wade hasn't even entered the chat yet. Yeah,
next
I mean,
round.
Yes. All I can say about that is he would have been the perfect defensive matchup against the Palo, right? And especially in that second unit, I would have loved to see that. Obviously, we're not going to, but in that second round series, whether it be Boston or Miami, probably not Miami, he's going to be needed.
I have one last question for you, Mack.
Sure.
Okay. You get 3 punches. Okay. You get 3 punches, but I'm going to give you 4 faces. So you can only punch 3 of the 4 faces. One face does not get punched. Okay. The 4 faces are Mo Wagner, Joakim Noah, Kelly Olynyk, and Draymond Green. You get to punch 3 of them.
Oh, man, I'm punching Draymond. I'm definitely punching Kelly Olynyk. I will never forgive Kelly Olynyk for honestly, I believe Kelly robbed us of a title. It started with the Kevin Love shoulder rip, and then it ended with a Kyrie Irving knee fracture. So I'm punching Draymond. I'm punching Kelly. I'm probably leaving Mo Wagner off the list. I don't like Mo.
Wow.
I don't like Mo, but I think the other 3 are probably even worse. I don't know, man. And Wagner, he definitely has a history, but none more so, in my opinion, than the other guys. I mean, Joakim Noah, we know his comments about Cleveland in the past. I will never forgive that either. But Kelly Olynyk and Draymond Green, they're up there as well. It's really like a pick your own poison kind of thing here. But what about you?
I think that's the right answer. I think maybe by the end of the series, maybe we could punch. We could probably punch Mo Wagner instead of Kelly
3 times.
Kelly 3 times is funny. Kelly 3 times is funny. Yeah. We're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see by the end of the series. We'll see how many people we want to punch. But all in all, it's fun. It's fun. I think I'm not trying to jinx it. We're not saying the series is over, but I am gonna say that like. There's a lot of demons that finally get a lot of monkeys that we get to throw off our back, a lot of demons to exercise here. You come over this first round hump that you couldn't get over last year if you finish this series. Just for Cavs fans to see us beat the Orlando Magic, you get memories from 2009, just to see that organizational growth, just as, we've come this far. I don't know. It's just, we need to feel good about ourselves. And I think that's I think why this matchup was so important to us. I think that's why the Cavs did not want to get stuck in a maybe Philly situation. I think they just wanted this team to see itself succeed and build off of that. So the organization is doing everything they can to make us feel confident, and the team is responding to that and also showing us confident play. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff. That's all I can say. It's good stuff.
I do. I mean, I feel good about that as well. And I 100% agree with you in that regard. I think that, once they did what they did against Charlotte, wink, wink, people were so quick to write off the first round. They were already looking past the first round and looking straight at that potential matchup against the Boston Celtics. And that just completely undermines, one, it undermines your opponent, and two, it undermines the impact of confidence and what that can do for a team heading into said second round matchup. So I was okay with this route, especially if it ends up being a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. But as we said before we went live here, man, nobody's going to give a shit about that. If the Cavaliers win this series and then they get ousted in the second round, people will turn right back around to the straw man's argument of, well, you picked your opponent, you guys got punked, or you took the loser's route, or you have a loser's mentality. We heard a lot of different things being said, but I think this still was the correct route to take.
Yeah. I mean, I also think people. I think objectively speaking, I don't think the Cavs saw the scoreboard with the Knicks, made a call down to JB and said, do this. I don't think that's what happened.
Yeah,
I think
you don't believe the conspiracies.
I just want people to know what really likely happened, how the organization actually works, is that they looked at this game and there's two options. One, we can rest guys. And they don't have to play for a week. That is, especially for Mitchell, who looks amazing, by the way, who looks completely benefiting from extra days of rest, by the way. We get to rest these guys now. They don't have to get hurt. Craig Porter Jr. got hurt. He got hurt in that last game. It could have been Garland or Mitchell. So be thankful that nobody got hurt. That's in our rotation. Yeah. Second of all, we know who our opponent is in advance now, and we know it's a good matchup for us. So instead of leaving it up to whoever wins the play-in and finding out who that matchup is with less time to prepare for it, and, just it's a harder matchup for us in general. I just think the Cavs realize leaving it up to a chance versus taking the guaranteed opponent plus extra rest, it was just a fair choice for them. I think it was a decision made before the game, and it was made regardless of what was happening in New York. So I think they did the right thing, and we're all gonna, once we win this series. Okay, I'm gonna say, Mack, you can't say it. This is your podcast. You're not allowed to say it. I'm allowed to say it. Once we win this series, okay, we're gonna go into Boston, and I just want to say this. Tom K said it right here, and Kaz, you said it here when you talked about the 2 buckets and how Donovan Mitchell is an S-tier player. I believe we are in store for a historic playoff run from Donovan Mitchell. I think he's already started it, and I think what people do not realize is that Donovan Mitchell, as a leader, as a playmaker, as an offensive engine, as a closer, as a decision maker, he is a better player than Jason Tatum. And I believe when we get into this next round, I believe people will see that on the national stage. And I don't know if we'll beat Boston. I'm not that crazy. But I see a world where we can get this to 6 games. If we could get this to 6 games, by the way, Game 6 is in Cleveland. That's all I'm going to say. If we can get this to 6 games, Game 6 is in Cleveland. And I am telling you now, Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs, I would rather have him than Jason Tatum, especially when people are going to say Tatum's a better defender, Tatum's a better this and that. Listen, when both teams are this great defensively, it comes down to who's the guy, who's going to be the guy who gets it done. I trust Donovan Mitchell at the end of the day.
Oh, man, that is a big time statement. And we are going to see whether or not Donovan Mitchell makes you look good for saying that. As of right now, I'm sure there are many fans that feel the same way. I tend to believe that Donovan Mitchell has the ability to rise over Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics, but man, oh man, I just that's gonna
be bloody, man.
That was a big time statement you made there. You made there. And I love it. And I'm looking at these comments here. I have to get your response to this just because people are saying we're being too
push it. Listen, there's too much negativity on Cavs Twitter. There's been too much shitting on our players. There's been too much. The season's over. There's been too much of this shit. Mack Perry over here. Mack Perry over here. This guy has been holding it down. He's been holding it down on necessary counters to Cavs pessimism. You have to look at the playoff history of Jason Tatum. Look at the decisions Jason Tatum makes in late game situations. This guy, for as good as he is that we call him, and as good as his team has been built, the Boston Celtics should have more than one finals appearance. They should have more than one finals appearance by this time. I really genuinely believe that we are not nearly as outmatched as people think. I am not saying we're going to beat Boston. I do not know that for sure. But I am saying I believe Donovan Mitchell will be the best player in that series, and I believe the Cavs can force this to 6. And if we can get this to 6, that's at our home court. If we can get it to home court on our Game 6, Game 7 is far from impossible.
I like the sound of that, man. I love the sound of that. I know a lot of people in the comments here agree. J Quest says this motherfucker's spitting. Yes, he is. He on here, man. I see. This is why I bring you on, man. You always drop in some type of bars, as Tuna in Sports says down here. Claw says you cooking right now, man. Yeah, I would love to see that play out. I cannot wait for this series. Now, again, we can't overlook our first round matchup.
Orlando's still a team, guys. Come on. Come
we
on.
Can't overlook them. As you said, I can't say that shit because this is my podcast, but you're the guest, so you can say what you feel. So I'm not gonna, if I say it, people are gonna sit up here and call me a jinx because that's all people ever do. But man, I love the enthusiasm. I truly believe that they have what it takes. It's a pretty damn good matchup between the Cavs.
It's gonna be a great matchup. Guys, you don't need Twitter. You don't need Twitter. You just need It's Cavaliers podcast. You don't need Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting over here. I'm an independent, but man, this has been fun. Definitely a good follow up to that game tonight, and I'm so damn glad that we got up here and we have something good to talk about, and we're not talking about the Cavs potentially being swept or anything like that. So it's good to go into Orlando with a 2-0 series lead. Before we get out of here, I just have to kind of plug this a little bit because I don't think a lot of people saw it earlier. A lot of my videos on YouTube get demonetized just because I'm using the NBA's material, right? So in order to circumvent that, I have created a Patreon. I will link that in the description. If you'd feel obligated to, I would love it if you supported me in some sort of way. If not, that's cool too. I'm still going to be producing the content either way, but it would mean the world to me if you guys were able to help out in some form or fashion. Like I said, I'll go ahead and include that in the description for this episode. As I always tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out, you know how you can. It's Cavalier on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and more. Man, I fuck this up every single time. I'm stumbling.
Nah, it's great.
But if you'd like to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Send a screenshot of your review or your rating to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you an invite. That's now Mr. Nikki G, no underscore.
No underscore. No underscore.
No underscore for that name. Now go out and give this man a follow on Twitter. He says you don't need Twitter, but go out there and give him a follow. Yeah, he's with Cavs Nation, man. You got anything you want to plug before you get out of here?
No, my one plug is go to Twitter and tweet this out. Spread the word. Donovan Mitchell is a better basketball player than Jason Tatum, and he will outplay him in the second round of the playoffs. You heard it here first. It's going to happen. All of you are believers. Spread the word. Gospel.
That's getting clipped. I can't wait to drop this episode in the morning, man. Thanks for coming on. Always a good time to have you on, dude. That said, go Cavs. Have a good night.